order. Today is July 14th, 2026. I've got 5:02 p.m. We are attending this meeting for the Utah OHV Advisory Committee, or Council, excuse me. Just a couple items on the agenda. Real quick, let's go through and do introductions. We have a couple of new members. We'd like to welcome Dean and Lacey to our council as our newest members. We'll have introductions here real quick. We'll go around the room. We'll start in the office in Salt Lake, if you guys don't mind going around the room and tell us your name and what your role is in relation to the council, and then we'll go through everybody that's online.
Okay, my name is Rachel Toker. I oversee and manage the OHV Recreation Grant for the state.
I'm Maureen Casper. I manage contracts and compliance for the division.
I'm Evan Beich. I administer the Recreational Trails Program for the division.
I'm Rudy Carly Lange, Trails and Planning Program Director.
Tara McKee, the Deputy Director over Grants and Youth, Youth Engagement, sorry.
Mike Thomas, Trail Crew Program Superintendent, and oversee all things trail crew in the state of division.
Mike Ennis, I'm the operations coordinator for the Trail Crew program.
Jason Curry, Division Director.
Okay, thank you. We'll go around to the council members now. I'm Jason Blankenagel, member at large and chairman of the council. I am calling in from Vernal. Let's go to Scott. Can't hear you, Scott. Gotta unmute.
I'm sorry about that. I'm getting slow. I'm the off-road motorcycle rep, and I live in Price, Utah.
Okay, Mike.
Mike Cook. I'm the safety rep, and I'm in.
Okay, Brody.
Brody Johnson. I am the ATV representative from Enoch, Utah.
Okay, Nicole.
I'm Nicole Nilsson. I'm with the Public Lands Policy Coordinating Office, and I am also in Price, Utah.
Okay, Brett.
I am the full-size four-wheel drive rep, and usually I'm in Draper, but today I'm in the bustling Midvale Metroplex.
Hey.
Excellent.
Going down, sorry. Russ.
Yeah, Russ Kazair with Russ Lands Administration. I'm in Davis County. Layton is the city I live in.
Thank you. Sheriff Curtis.
Sheriff Nathan Curtis, Sevier County Sheriff. I'm in Richfield, and I am the search and rescue representative.
Okay, thank you. And then I think that's all of our standing board members that are here. Let's go ahead. Dean, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Dean Harris. I live in Mendon. I'm obviously one of the newest members here, and excited to join and learn some of the ins and outs of this division.
Thank you, Dean. Lacey.
Hi, I'm Lacey, and I own DNP Performance in Cedar City. I'll be the dealership representative.
Excellent. Welcome aboard. And now, Wade, why don't we have you introduce yourself?
Yeah, Wade Allenson, OHV Program Manager.
Okay, thanks, Wade. I think that's everybody. Let's go ahead and move on to the first action item on our agenda, which is approval of the June 17 meeting minutes. Does everybody have a chance to review those? Any comments or concerns or things that need to be adjusted?
I do. You want to hear my complaint?
Yep.
Okay, at 136.07, it talks about a fuel issue in Logan Canyon. I don't recall talking about anything in Logan Canyon dealing with single track and fuel shortages. So I'm not sure where that came from, but I didn't say anything about it, I don't believe.
Where was that at again?
I think it was, this is Sheriff Curtis, I think there's a discussion about a project that had taken place up there at one time, getting fuel up to, or a coordinated project. That's what I remember that was talking about.
I know that our snowmobile club actually put a fuel tank up by the UDOT shed for the groomers. That's probably what you're talking about.
It was probably just a misprint of the name. Can you repeat the time period for it?
136.07.
Okay. Oh. This would probably just be Wade.
Yeah, you're giving me credit for something I didn't do.
No, this was in our discussion about Dean
Yeah.
solving single track fuel issues in Logan Canyon. It was probably snowmobile fuel issues. Is that right?
It was for the groomers, I should say.
Yes, that's correct. It probably ties back to that, to the top of Utah helping us get us a temporary tank up there, and we got a new one that's on the process of being up there.
We will make that change and change the name so that it no longer says Scott Wheeler.
Okay, thank you. Any other changes that need to be made? Okay. All right, I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
This is Brody. I would make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
This is Scott Wheeler. I will second that.
Okay, motion by Brody, seconded by Scott. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? And Dean and Lacey, you can abstain from this one since you weren't part of that meeting. Okay. Meeting minutes have been approved. Now we'll move on to our heavy equipment trail crew update. Just to keep us all on schedule, we need to keep this conversation brief, so we can all get on to the other things in our lives that are going on. So some people have to be out of here at a hard 5:30. So let's make sure that we're efficient with our conversation and discussion today. And that being the case, Mike, if you've got a minute to go over the heavy equipment trail crew and where we're at. We recently funded or approved to fund some heavy equipment for the trail crew. And yeah, Mike, go ahead and take it away, and then we'll have a discussion about it.
Yeah, this is Mike Thomas. You get two mics on stage today, so we'll work that out. But just a really quick statement in the name of time, like you said, to respect that. We just appreciate being here, and as you've already set it up and teed it up great for us, we're looking to add a heavy equipment section of the program, and she'll hopefully, contribute to a more statewide effort and bigger scope of work and more things done. So I won't stay on long and pass it to Mike Ennis, operations coordinator, to go about the details.
Okay, yeah, thank you, everyone. This is what we're talking about here is a big step for this program that we're really excited about. So we just wanted to run through this with you so you're all informed on our intended path forward. I'll try to get through this pretty quick and leave plenty of time for questions at the end, but just some background here. As you all know, we're in year 3 of having 4 regional crews around the state conducting trail work. Over the years, we've had an increasing demand for heavy equipment work, and this year we did receive that funding. So in original talks about this heavy equipment operation, the original idea was that we would likely have 2 newly hired employees that would function as the heavy equipment crew. They would be based out of Richfield and be traveling around the entire state conducting that work. When we started looking into how this would work, we started realizing we had a lot of variables, a lot of potential concerns and a lot of costs associated with that operation. So on this slide here, we have just some of those things that we had kind of realized throughout the planning process, those travel costs being a huge one, just what it would take to actually move those people and equipment on a regular basis around the entire state of Utah, with some more concerns and potentially roadblocks also listed on here. But this kind of made us shift our focus sort of back to our trail crew program as a whole and the operation that we have been functioning off of with a regional approach. We've been very successful with this operation. Just this past year, we completed 156 projects around the state with over 1,500 hours of crew time on that. And so we are now looking to build upon that and just enhance what we're already operating out of when it comes to heavy equipment operation. And so our plan as of now, this is just the House bill information coming from this legislation. And I do believe everything that we're planning to move forward does satisfy the language in this. And so our plan now is to take, again, the current model we're running with and have our crew supervisors be trained up to become equipment operators. So they would still stay within their regions. We would just get machines to them. And a big part of that also would be us creating 4 new positions for the program. So currently our crew leads are just seasonal roles. So a big part of this plan would be creating those 4 positions into full-time year-round.
So can I just clarify that real quick? We're not creating 4 new positions. We're still creating 2, but we're doing it by increasing 4 of them by half.
Yes.
That's probably there's a lot of nuance to that, but just want to make sure and clarify. We're not adding 4, we're just increasing 4 so that we have the equivalent of 2 FTEs added.
Yes.
Money-wise.
That is correct.
Switching the status of them to make them more capable more often, yes.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you. Yeah, so what our plan for this and the reason behind it would be this will allow us to now, once our supervisors are up and running with equipment operation, that'll allow them to then take a crew member, go and conduct a heavy equipment project while at the same time that crew lead is running the hand crew on a different project elsewhere. So really maximizing the amount of projects that we're able to continue doing through the year. What adding that full-time year-round position also does is allows us to then continue to do heavy equipment work throughout that off season, especially in our southern regions. And so we have already started planning for training opportunities. In here it says that we would be prioritizing this off season, which is true, but we've already planned to initiate our folks into training starting next month. So we're already lining that up and getting that stuff ready. When it comes to preparation, like I had mentioned before, the travel aspect of that one crew working all around the state was a huge barrier and I think would really reduce the amount of work done. With this model that I'm talking about right now, we will at minimum be doubling the amount of projects around the state that we would be able to do with that one crew. And I think we'll be able to do it much more effectively and be able to spread that work around the state much more effectively. So here, just some more general benefits of what we're talking about here. More operators that are capable to do this work around the state, drastically reducing ongoing costs when it comes to travel and those types of expenses. And more career progression. We're really hoping that this is something that will help us with both recruitment and retention when it comes to our employees, because we're really giving them the skills and certifications to build a career within DNR. So the funding that we're receiving was noted on one of the earlier slides, but it was broken down to ongoing, and then we are receiving some one-time funding. So we are cutting some of the one-time funding needs through this model when it comes to additional vehicles and trailers and things like that. But we hope to be able to use some of that money to purchase more equipment that we can distribute throughout the state, so we're not having to do as much sharing and transporting machines when needed. But that is our plan there. And yeah, that's the very high level overview of what we're looking to do. So I just wanted to open it up to you all for any questions you have.
This is Brody. I got a couple, but I'll just start out with the first one. Is your when you say full time or year round, on here it said during the off season you'd be doing training. So during the off season there would be no heavy equipment work?
No, so that when I mentioned that, that would be prioritizing heavy equipment training during this off season of 2026. And that's just because that would be the most amount of time we would have to just be able to just focus on that and not have those supervisors working hand crew projects at the same time. But yeah, ongoing into the future, we would, with these 2 employees that would be working through the winter in each region, we would plan to continue heavy equipment projects throughout the winter.
Now, when you say region, besides the Richfield, what other 2 regions are you talking about?
Are you referring to where work would be?
You said 3 regions. What are the 3 regions?
So 4 regions we have right now. We have our northern region, which is Salt Lake City all the way over to Vernal. And then we have southeast, which is based out of Moab, central and Richfield, and southwest out of Cedar City.
All right, and then do you anticipate using the heavy equipment crew in northern Utah during the winter?
Sorry, you kind of cut out a bit.
Sorry. Do you anticipate a need, or are using the heavy equipment crew in northern Utah during the winter months?
I think the work need would be the lowest with our northern crew throughout the winter. But again, that region is our biggest. It spans all the way over to the Vernal area. And so I think there still is potential there. And I think that off season will also give us the opportunity to have regions combine on projects too. And so I think it could definitely be an ongoing thing where our North region employees could go down to Moab or the Cedar City area and assist with heavy equipment projects, having multiple machines on those projects as well.
And then my last one for a little bit, because I'm hogging up the time. Will the heavy equipment crew be used on anything non-motorized?
Yeah, we're still talking about all that. I think the intention here would be initially they would be focused on motorized work. But I think just over time we would weigh kind of what time we have and how to distribute that work.
Yeah, and to be clear too, this is a legislative appropriation. Legislature appropriated funds to pay for these 2 employees. Some of those funds came from the OHV account. Some of them came from the Outdoor Adventure Fund. So there's justification for some non-motorized, but like Mike said, pretty much exclusively motorized.
Yeah,
so how much of the total amount was from the OHV fund and how much from the legislature? Was that that 50 or 80,000 or whatever that was? 80,000?
Yeah, it was 80,000 from Outdoor Fund and 380 from OHV.
And what was and which was from? Sorry again. What was from the legislature out of that fund?
Okay, it was all from the legislature, but the legislature appropriates funding from different sources. One source, the OHV restricted account, 380.
Yes.
And then another source, the Outdoor Adventure Fund, they appropriated
80.
Another 80.
Yeah.
So
460.
So yeah, so a total of 460. So yeah, the vast majority of it from the OHV restricted account.
Okay, thank you.
I have just a comment, no questions. 20 minutes isn't enough time to discuss what's going on here. So I'm just throwing that out. There's no way we can discuss the needs of this and come up with a consensus in 20 minutes. And so that's my 2 cents.
I would agree with Scott on this. I have some concerns. Seems like we're getting awful close to mixing motorized with non-motorized. I realize that there's a portion of the money that came from the Outdoor Adventure Fund, but I visited with Mike Johnson just real quick before the meeting. I want to visit with him more, but I kind of expressed, I'm not sure how you'll save in travel, because if you have to load those up, unless you're working in your backyard, you have to load that equipment up and, pay people to go out to Vernal per se, so you're still going to have to pay the per diem and everything. Seems like it might be easier to designate them as a motorized crew and have people that are super good at running the equipment. Not to say that they wouldn't be, but it takes a long time to learn how to run equipment efficiently. Seems like might be better off to designate them as a motorized crew and then use some of if there is a non-motorized project, to use some of that 80 to pay them to move in and clean up a trailhead or something like that, then to kind of mix the ponds. I don't know, it just seems like it complicates something that may not be, might be easier to separate them and then just pull that money. If we're needing motorized for heavy equipment for non-motorized projects, I have no problem with that. But it might be easier to almost rent them from the OHV program. And that would keep everything clear, and it'd be easy to see where the money's going. And I think one crew that has a little bit more flexible schedule actually, in my eyes, might be more efficient than 4 crews that are tied down. Because what if a 3-day job turns into a 5-day job or something like that? You just can't necessarily go, oh, done our 3 days and we're gone, especially with heavy equipment. But I do agree with Scott. 30 minutes or 20 minutes isn't time enough to discuss all this, I don't think. So,
what type of training have you looked at for this, and what's going to be required to operate this equipment on forest and BLM ground?
Yeah, so BLM doesn't currently have any policy on this. The forest does have a certification program, and I've spoken with Grant Julander from the Fish Lake National Forest, and he's certified to certify individuals on any type of heavy equipment. So he has agreed to work with and certify our crews on all the machines that we will be working on. And then the training that we're planning on sending folks to next month, Mike, I believe you have a little more info on that.
Yeah, that's just something we've actually had invites to every year, no matter what staff we have. Has been out of Weber Basin for heavy equipment. Weber Basin Job Corps puts on one that actually it's the Forest Service that's partnership with them, and that usually invites us every year to participate in. So we're gonna make use of that, even if that means working with them a little deeper to enhance the training for our specific purposes as well.
And this is Carly here. I'm just curious what other questions or information we could provide if this is a conversation that needs more long form discussion. We do a really great job of capturing all of the work that our trail crews do on the ground. And so we are really confident in our ability to say, you know, our goals for the other crews are 50% non-motorized, 50% motorized. And so we can be really strategic in the way we plan out the season ahead to honor that percentage split between the outdoor adventure fund money and then the OHV account. So if that is that's the concern that I'm kind of hearing here. And, you know, I think Mike Cook brought up a couple other concerns as well, but just wanting to have you all know that we're really confident in our ability to help track that. And it plays into our integrity for where these funds come from, right? I think we all look at ourselves as taxpayer stewards, and if we can do something with the allotment that we've been awarded and trusted with, if we can look at that money and do more with it, that's why we wanted to have this conversation today with you all, because we think we can really deliver more impact with these dollars by leveraging the efficiencies that already exist in our current operations.
Wade, do you have any input on this? I know you've got to take off here pretty quick, but if you don't mind.
You know, I think this model could work. I think the accountability piece needs to be in place. I do have some of the concerns of, you know, making sure that that it's focused primarily on motorized work rather than non-motorized. I think that was the spirit behind it, regardless of where the funding comes from. I think that was how it was presented, that it was going to be working on motorized trails. So I think we need to be pretty strong in that area, because that was the intent of it. Thank you.
Yeah, and maybe I'll just add a little bit more color to this, because hopefully you recall we sought the council's advice on the heavy equipment crew last year or earlier this year, because that was our intent, was to petition the legislature for additional appropriation. So as it was laid out at that time, it was a single crew. And so when the legislature heard from me, that's the way I laid it out, was a crew based in Richfield, heavy equipment for motorized use. And as Mike Innes and Mike Thomas have looked at it, they have a different approach. So that's why we want to seek your advice, is basically on that change of course. Is this really something that we're seeking your advice on? What is your advice? Should we stick to the original plan, or should we modify it to reflect this? And I do believe it could really work better from an efficiency standpoint. You know, you talk about travel and per diem. A lot of these folks are probably going to be doing work within their home unit, so they won't even have to do travel at all. If it's a Richfield-based crew, they would almost always have to travel unless they're doing it in Richfield. So there is that. I 100% agree, and it's my main focus is to make sure we get really solid, good operators out of this effort. I want to make sure that we have solid training, so that we are the experts, so we can become, through the sort of distribution of this program throughout the 4 regions, that we get 4 really good, strong experts in heavy equipment operation and off-highway vehicle trail maintenance. I do agree with what Carly said. We've gotten a system down pat to where, mixing of motorized, non-motorized, and the hours that are spent, I just don't see that happening. We've got a really, really good system. The crews are meticulous in how they report that time. So just a little bit more flavor to it. Again, it's something that it represents a change in how we originally proposed this. And that's why we want your advice, is to say, should we stick with the original plan, or should we be agile and take a different approach?
I have a comment here right now. Is there a chart that's been put together where you centralize where the most trails that need heavy equipment on in the state? I would assume more in the central part of the state would be where most of the maintenance is being done by heavy equipment. I don't know how much usage there is on non-motorized in the northern part, but I think the central part of the state has the majority of the usage right now. I'm not sure, but has anybody kept track of that?
That's a great question. I'll chime in on that too. So one side of our team is on the trails, you know, they're moving dirt on the ground, and the other side of our team is pretty sophisticated GIS mapping and data analytics experts. And we've been measuring outdoor recreation trends throughout the state of Utah, and doing some regional planning efforts where we're trying to unearth what are the community values. Where do we need to put our resources? And overwhelmingly in the central part of the state, we're hearing that the motorized recreation is a huge part of the culture and what makes that place so wonderful. And that maintenance is a big, huge priority. So we are looking at that. We still have more work to do and relying on locals to help lead the way and guide us, since they know their backyards more than anyone else.
How much coordinating goes on with there's other pieces of heavy equipment that, you know, some of the groups have, some of the counties have. How much coordinating is going on with those groups in doing the heavy work?
Yeah, I mean, currently that's something that we're looking at just as a whole. I mean, again, you know, just this is an addition to a section of the program. Basically, this is saying that we're ready to take on that heavy equipment world and to be able to coordinate that. So looking forward to more collaboration on that. There's also future opportunities, which I wouldn't, you know, necessarily promise here without looking at it, but where you got if a county has a machine that maybe they got grant funded, you know, a few years back or so at some point, but it may not be getting used. There may be some cross collaboration there where the county is a branch of the state risk-wise. There's stuff that could be possibly worked out for the future for collaboration with those that already have the heavy equipment capability. So yeah, we'd also look forward to that. And then I think the supervisors, if they were united in this opportunity, would play a larger role in establishing those type of partnerships.
So it sounds like there are definitely some lingering questions here. I guess it appears like right now the council wouldn't be comfortable offering advice either direction. Does that pretty much sum it up?
Well, it sounds like we just need some more
I have
discussion.
more questions about it. Like it says, 25 minutes isn't enough time to discuss these things. And actually, I'm not privy to everything that's been going on, and it would take a while to bring me up to speed so that I could make a good comment about what to do and not to do. But I would think you would want to centralize the equipment where the work is being done. If there's not any work being done in the northern part of the state, well, you wouldn't have the equipment there. You'd want to have it where the trails are out there, it's being used. It looks like the major percentage of funding has come from the motorized end of this, but and I have no problem in working with the non-motorized side. I do non-motorized stuff myself, but we need to be accountable for where the money and the funding's coming from.
Yeah, the accountability is not a question in my mind. That's very simple and straightforward. This is almost always going to be motorized. If there was non-motorized, it would be an exceptional case, but I don't think we're
Cleaning up forest fire damage.
What?
Maybe cleaning up the damage from all the wildfires that we've had, of just getting a trail cleared off.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll put it this way: if there is an advice either way, we'll probably just proceed with Plan A at this point. It is, right now, based on what we know now, based on what we've committed to, I think we will probably proceed with the original intent, unless the council sees value in what's being proposed here today. But open to doing.
I guess ultimately, maybe some direction on what is needed from the council. Is it just a vote to go one way or the other with this? Is it?
We're just seeking your advice. Plan A, as we presented it originally to you all, was we would have one crew, and it would be based in Richfield, and so I wish Mike would have been around at the time to help with this thought process, but since we made that, that original plan, we're looking to potentially deviate from it and take this more regional type approach. And so the decision's kind of already been made. You guys have already bought off on it. Legislature's funded it to do a regional, not regional, but a Richfield-based heavy equipment crew that will do off-highway vehicle trail maintenance from a heavy equipment perspective. What is your advice when we have this decision in front of us? It's kind of.
Can I just ask a question with this? And Mike, help us understand. I mean, dollar for dollar, what do you see giving us more maintained trail with these two options?
Yeah, I absolutely believe that the regional approach would be the best use of taxpayer dollars here. I think we would get way many projects out of this. From comments made about Central, like, yes, we are doing our Central crew is doing the highest percentage of motorized work out of our other crews, and that is associated with the use there. But this model wouldn't be saying that we wouldn't be focusing work there. We would just already have someone there that would be able to work there full time, rather than if we had this one crew. For one, we couldn't just allow them to focus time there because this funding is for a statewide effort. And so having that been said, that if we had one crew there based out of there, they wouldn't be able to be doing projects when they're elsewhere throughout the state. And then on that travel aspect of things, as Jason mentioned, right now, our projects and work locations, if you look at our heat map of our regional crews, they're on average traveling an hour or less to their project sites. Whereas if this was one crew, they're traveling 3+ hours to every project outside of Central Region, which means that they would have to be paid per diem, and we're talking probably a full day of travel out of each project. And another aspect of this, when it comes to just best use of funds, I've talked to other organizations that have done something similar, and heard a lot of struggles. For instance, when we were at the Mountain West Trails Conference, I spoke with the state of Wyoming's trail crew. They have a heavy equipment crew that's based out of one location that travels throughout the state. And they cannot hold on to employees to save their lives because it's asking a lot of someone to take a position where they are on the road almost constantly. And they even have some resources when it comes to lodging and things like that we don't have access to right now. So that retention thing is a big part of this as well. But yeah, whereas back to the cost and travel and use of funds, I think investing in this would get the most amount of projects throughout the state. I do believe that.
Hey, Jason, this is Scott. How much say does Wade have in what's going on here? He's supposed to be the OHV coordinator for the state. I don't have enough information to give you an answer with what you're asking me. I have to rely on other people that are in the mix on this and know what's going on. And so I'd almost have to say, you'll have to let somebody else make the decision for me.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Yeah, that's what we're trying to provide here with Mike. And as far as Wade's support, and I'll let him chime in, but I think his comment was that he believes that it could be made to work. Wade, anything else to add to that?
No, I believe this could work. And I appreciate Mike I's thought and his forward thinking in this. I think just some of the concerns of the council need to be addressed, and I think it could work. I think it could work very well.
And I'll come at it from a different angle as well. Part of my leadership, at least what I've tried to do, is to stay ahead of kind of these trends or these demands that we may have and anticipate some of those. And one important part of history a little bit is when we started this, the trail crew program, officially 2021, with 2 just seasonal employees going around the state that had very little training, very little background. I was able to give very little oversight due to many duties. That was already a stretch. And then we moved into 4 and 6 and grew bigger based on the demand. And one main concern that we did have along the way was how little time that these crews based out of Salt Lake were, or how much time they had to spend traveling, basically, as opposed to boots on the ground work. And so it's the exact same model the way I see it. And then from that demand grew the idea of the four regions to be able to multiply our efforts times 4, which is where we sit now. So I see this as anticipating those issues. And not that I want to express anything in the form of worry, but I also, our division worked really hard to secure this funding the way it sits for one region. And of course, we're talking about modifying and trying to enhance it, but I believe that demand will grow if we start out with central region. I believe we will do our jobs and we will perform, at the highest level. And then I believe this will be a demand we'll have anyways. And I'm not sure if we'll be in a position to ask for further funding and enhancement later on. It's kind of hard that's a hard thing to predict. So I believe we're getting ahead of trends and demand here as well.
When we talked about this, we talked about the possibility that the Richfield office or the Richfield heavy equipment crew would set the model throughout the state. And we did forecast that we felt that it was going to work throughout the state and that the model would start in Richfield to get the bugs worked out. But I think the model that Mike is presenting right now just pushes that along a little bit sooner than what we had talked about. But we did recognize that this is needed throughout the state, and maybe this model gives that opportunity to push it out a little faster.
Could I propose too, perhaps, you all are motorized recreation experts. Maybe you all can be involved in helping kind of set that, brainstorming what a potential work schedule could look like, statewide, and helping jot out some of the priorities that you're seeing and hearing from the communities and on the ground.
And
This is
Nicole,
Brody. I think one of whoever mentioned the fires earlier, spot on. I think that right now is the biggest concern that everybody has is the damage to all the trails from all the fires, and the Forest Service BLM probably won't be able to manage all of that on their own. I'd imagine that this heavy equipment crew would be highly focused on repairing all that damage as quickly as possible. And so unless somebody else sees something different, that's what I'm envisioning right now anyway.
Yeah, and I can positively speak to our relationship with the Region 4 at Forest Service. They've supported our efforts over the years, no matter what they are. And some of those discussions have come up where, not that we want to be red carded and going to fight fire directly, but we do want to get trails reopened as quick as possible and protect that access in all areas of the state and efficiently as possible. And that did come up where some authorizations could possibly be given for us to get in there as soon as possible to do our part in some of that work. So that's some good discussions I've had.
Nicole, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I guess now I have 2 items that I want to mention. Kind of on the fire rehab one. I've done quite a bit of fire rehab work in my previous life, and I would caution against getting in there too quickly to do any rehab because it will take a few years for it to stabilize. So if you get in there immediately, 1 or 2 years after is a much better choice. So just throwing that out there because of the experiences I've had. But I just wanted to go back to, I think it was Mike that was saying it's hard to see who's in the room, but I do think that what he's talking about with, a work-life balance and having crews spread out across the state is really important because, we all know people that have worked on construction crews that they're on the road all the time and they burn out pretty heavily. And, as I think about, as state employees, we're here because we're passionate about it, not because of the paychecks that we get. And so I can't imagine that the heavy equipment crew is gonna, be making big bucks like, some of these construction crews that make the David Bacon wages. So I do think Mike makes a really good point about a work-life balance and keeping people happy and keeping them there once you've got them trained. So I just wanted to acknowledge what Mike said.
Thank you.
I think to go along with that too, in my experience, hiring traveling surveyors kind of the same way. It's really difficult to find somebody that's willing to travel. So I understand that plight as well. Any other council members have ideas, questions, need to chime in here?
I'm curious how you're going to allocate the equipment. I mean, there's two sets of equipment, 4 regions. How does the equipment get dispersed, and how does that decision get made?
Yeah, that's a great question. So right now, our supervisors are putting their work schedules for the year together during the winter, usually January, February timeframe. So typically by March or April, they know where they're going to be and what projects they have on the schedule for that entire year. So our plan as of right now would be to just monitor that and kind of make a plan accordingly. We definitely want, with the amount of work and with the type of work our crews are doing in Moab right now, we would definitely want to get equipment there to live there, just because of how difficult it would be to transport back and forth to that region. But then we would work, our Southwest and Central region work very closely together. And so if we had equipment staged there as well, it would be really easy for those two supervisors to coordinate on what equipment they needed and when it comes to that. But like I had mentioned in the beginning too, we're looking at some other funding sources as well to look at purchasing more equipment. Again, just to make this operation more efficient if we are to go this route. So that is in our future plans as well.
Isn't there any way to go ahead and coordinate using, I brought this question up to begin with, but the equipment that the BLM has in Moab, and have a trail crew, a dedicated trail crew go use that equipment? I know over the years we've bought a number of trail cats, and I don't know how available those are, but maybe we should pursue that avenue.
Yeah, and we're totally open to those options. Right now, the BLM doesn't have any equipment in Moab, but RAD with respect does, to my understanding. But we have a great example of that in Iron County. That county there bought a trail cat, and the county is assisting on both BLM and forest projects there too. And so, yeah, definitely looking to do more of that type of coordination into the future.
Yeah, just to expand on that too, again, just talking about future opportunities, sort of like Jason was saying, of becoming the experts more and more is, there's nothing, again, I always caveat of like nothing promised today necessarily, but I can see why, as these supervisors grow their skills, to be able to possibly teach courses out of our program as well, to be able to empower those that do run heavy equipment as well. So there's potential opportunity when we have a statewide programs to get light effort on some of these things. So I view those as a great suggestion and with great opportunities that we could have to partner with folk on borrowing of equipment.
Well, Scott, maybe that's a stipulation you want to look into including in future equipment grants for like RTP or OVER when we're purchasing this equipment for counties, for federal partners. Maybe we can include that in the contract language that they provide assistance to our trail crew. Just that.
Maybe by assistance to the trail crew in the contract, it says since we put a very large amount of money towards this, we can use it when it's not being used by your program.
There is an asset rules. Yeah.
There's an asset rule, but it's not specific that links to the trail crew.
Right.
Good idea.
But it does say that it's state
Sounds great.
property.
Yep.
No, it's for asset for 10 years or the level of
okay.
equipment. That's the stipulation that we have in there for equipment currently.
Could be a good thing to have though, for sure.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Any other questions or comments from the council? So what I'm hearing is there's concerns. There's a few things. Concerns that we make sure that this is going for motorized projects. We want to make sure that we're collaborating with the local communities and those that already have trail equipment with these operators. And then it sounds like dollar for dollar, the trail crew is recommending this change to get the most out of the money. Any other consensus thoughts or any other anything that I'm missing here? Any advice that council members want to provide outside of what we've discussed?
This is Brody. The only thing I would say is be willing to, you know, if you go the route of the regional crews, like, you know, then if after a year or two you're finding that it's just really not working, be open to the idea of a centralized crew. Don't lock yourself into one or the other until you see how, give it a year or two to see how it works.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Pilot program.
Yeah, I guess if I had to say, I mean, I can see both sides. I do like the idea of making full-time positions year-round, as well as keeping them in the regions. It's really hard to find somebody that will travel, especially on a state wage. So I'm leaning to going the direction that has been proposed today. Anybody else?
So are each one of these crews going to be the same size? I would think that where you have the biggest demand, you might need a bigger crew. I don't know. And I don't know the size of these crews for sure, but if somebody's in running a bulldozer or a trail cat and a mini X, how many people do you need to run a mini X? One person and maybe one watching? I don't know. What about a trail cat? You need maybe somebody to watch and somebody to run it. So if we have a trail crew that has 4 people with one piece of equipment, do we need all 4 people there?
Yeah, so our crews would remain the same size. So our crews currently are 6, made up of 6 people. And so, yeah, the idea would be when that supervisor would step away for heavy equipment projects, they would be taking 1 crew member to do either the brush work or the finish work behind the machine. And then the rest of the 4 would be continuing to do hand crew work on other projects.
Yeah, essentially doubling their capacity from just a project standpoint. Instead of doing 1 project with 5 or 6 people, now we can do 2 projects with 2 here and 3 here. So instead of having 2 full-time employees running all over the state, we're going to keep what we currently have, elevate 4 of them to full-time, where they would be basically that break off. It could either be 2 people or maybe even could be 4, like you say, Scott, depending on the complexity and the needs of the project. Maybe it is 2 machines and 4 people and they all team up on it. That would be something they would have to sort of coordinate and decide on a case-by-case basis. But this, I think, that's probably the strongest point for this, is just that capacity. Instead of having 2 people traveling everywhere, we got 4 able to cover the whole state and less travel.
Well, my thinking is I'm going to have to leave this with Mike and Wade and Jason, you guys, to make that decision, because right now I can't tell you what I want done. I want it to be the most efficient way. You people are in that position. You've worked there. You see what's going on. I'm going to leave it to you to make that decision. And if it's a bad decision, maybe in a year or so, we'll see, hey, that was a bad decision. Let's change it.
We thank you very much for that. For what I'm gathering is that trust, Scott, and then also just, in general to to the council. I think this is a great launching point for our communication from now on to help understand the trail crew program operations. I mean, this isn't just a one-off meeting and disappear. I like that this is a new branch for us to be able to communicate with you all and update you in the spirit of kind of always improving, like Jason's saying, and our division kind of has that value. So, but yeah, thanks for that trust. And then I look forward to, no matter what happens, further communication and better understanding.
And thank you for the questions. I really appreciate the questions. That's why, 4 years ago, this would have probably just been something we've just gone ahead and done, assuming that the advisory council wasn't interested in providing or didn't have questions. So in another stride effort toward, a higher level of fiscal transparency with this council and leveraging the interest that you do have, really just want to say thank you, especially Dean and Lacey. Appreciate you being the new members being willing to jump into this, and appreciate your time.
And to that point too, I think we will expect some updates in our future meetings. And hopefully we can have a little bit of time set aside for Mike, you or Mike, to come and give us just a quick update and keep us in the know.
And that's definitely a part that we look forward to. And no matter what choices we make, you're on the journey with us. It's the way we look at it. So thank you.
Okay, anything else from any of the council members?
I like some of the changes that I'm seeing in the spreadsheets and some of the other issues that we've had, but I'm assuming that's going to be another discussion.
What was that?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
You're asking me what I said?
We didn't hear you.
Yeah, we didn't hear
I
you.
heard spreadsheets, and then not much else there. Yeah, I didn't quite pick up on it. If you could repeat.
Updated grant spreadsheets. He appreciates what he's seeing, and he assumes that that's going to be a point of discussion in our next meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. And along with some other things. I know we've talked about wildfire, and Nicole, to your point, which is really forefront of my mind. Yes, there are probably some things we can figure out to do in the next fiscal year, but likely we will not know the full extent of what's needed out there on the trails until the year after. So there may be a discussion too of, do we want to commit all of our funds this year, or are we going to hold some of them back until we know a little bit better picture on what impacts have been out there from wildfire?
And Wade and myself have been discussing, just kind of based off what's been prompted, I believe by, was it Legislative Albrecht?
Well, yeah, Representative Albrecht and Commissioner Pearson in Beaver County, they're very concerned, rightly so, about their economy in Beaver County. Their outdoor recreation scene is decimated. All of those trails up there, the ski resort, they still have the west side, which is open and ready for business. But the problem is that most people are thinking, well, Beaver County isn't open for business when it comes to recreation. So there's some messaging. There's also some grant opportunities from the tourism segment of the OVER grant that we think will help those communities.
And we're going to actually prioritize, that's what Wade and myself were talking about, is actually making sure that if the advisory council agrees that we want to prioritize projects that are taking place in counties that have been affected by fires. So it's actually something that we've been adding into the application. So just an FYI.
Thank you for doing that, because we really, during that, like the Silver King fire, we really tried to focus on recovery for the trails, but also for that county. So thank you for doing that.
Okay, do you need anything else from us, from the council moving forward, Jason?
Rachel has an announcement.
The answer to that question, no, not at this time, but
Yeah, just an announcement. So as most of you know, you guys have seen emails from me kind of throughout the past couple days. The OHV Recreation Grant opens tomorrow, as well as the Outdoor Recreation Mitigation Grant and the Outdoor Recreation Infrastructure Grant.
And
infrastructure?
The Outdoor Recreation Mitigation Grant is for search and rescue plus some other infrastructure that has been damaged in a given rural community because of heavy visitation. So just so you know, and pass that around, please.
Okay, thank you. All right, thanks everybody for taking the time tonight. I know we went a little bit longer. We appreciate your input, and at this time we'll accept a motion for adjournment.
This is Brody. I would like to make a motion that we conclude the meeting.
I'll second it. This is Mike.
Okay, thanks everybody. Meeting is adjourned. Have a good
Appreciate you
night.
all.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.